Imagine a desert with nothing but sand as far as the eye can see, once home to crocodiles, elephants, and thousands of humans navigating giant rivers. Welcome to Earth's greatest secret, the Green Sahara. For thousands of years, the Sahara has been considered a symbol of extreme drought. However, geological evidence reveals that 10,000 years ago, this region was a lush savanna with a river network that rivaled the Nile. How did the forests turn to dust? And where did the civilization that once lived there go? One of the most surprising discoveries came from satellite imagery by the Japan Earth Observatory, which mapped a massive waterway hidden beneath the surface of Mauritania. This is known as the Tamanrasset River System, an ancient river that stretches 500 kilometers from its headwaters in the Atlas Mountains and the Hoggar Plateau in Algeria to the West African coast. If it were still flowing today, the Tamanrasset would be the 12th largest river in the world, delivering vital nutrients to the ocean and supporting life along its course. The Sahara was not a desert, but rather a highly active network of rivers and lakes. In the region that now encompasses Libya, Niger, Chad, and Mali, a forested savanna ecosystem supported by an extensive water system existed. In fact, scientists have found evidence of Lake Mega-Chad, a giant lake far larger than today's Lake Chad, which served as a moisture hub in the heart of the continent. How could the most arid region on Earth transform into a giant oasis? The answer lies in our planet's cosmic dance, called the Milankovitch cycles. Every 21,000 years, a change in the Earth's precession, or wobble, occurs. This change periodically moves the northern hemisphere closer to the sun during the summer months. As a result, summers are warmer, and the warmer air is able to hold more water vapor. This drastically intensifies the power of the West African monsoon and shifts the African rain belt far north, directly over the Sahara Desert. This cycle created a self-sustaining Green Sahara, where plants helped retain soil moisture through evapotranspiration, ensuring water reserves remained available even outside the rainy season. This is the period known as the African Humid Period, a time when climate floodgates opened, allowing animal and human species to migrate and thrive in previously uninhabited areas. Concrete evidence of this abundant water can still be found today in fossil form. Archaeologists have unearthed thousands of fish bones, including those of catfish and tilapia, amidst the now dry Acacia Mountains. These findings demonstrate that ancient rivers like the Tamanrasset were not mere trickles, but deep, fast-flowing rivers teeming with aquatic life that served as a primary food source for the early humans there. The most phenomenal archaeological discovery occurred in the Gobero region of Niger, now located in the deadly Tenere Desert. A team led by paleontologist Paul Sereno discovered an ancient burial complex containing at least 200 tombs, providing a unique window into the two distinct cultures that once flourished there. The first culture to inhabit this region, approximately 10,000 to 8,000 years ago, was known as the Kiphian. They were a community of exceptional hunters and fishers. Fossil records show that the Kiphian people were incredibly physically robust, reaching up to 2 meters tall and with muscular bodies. Why were they so strong? The secret lay in their diet, rich in protein from the abundant aquatic resources. At the Gobero site, archaeologists discovered fishhooks made from animal bones and the remains of giant catfish and tilapia, proving that the lakeshore was once a limitless food source. However, the Sahara was more than just a place for food. It was a canvas for early human artistic expression. The mystery deepens when we turn to the Takarkori site in Libya. There, 15 human skeletons were discovered, including 2 women naturally mummified 7,000 years ago, with their skin and muscle tissue still intact. DNA analysis of these mummies revealed a surprising finding. They belong to a highly genetically isolated archaic human lineage, distinct from other human groups in sub-Saharan Africa and Europe. Despite their isolation, they were pioneers in animal domestication. This was a crucial transitional moment in human history. After a millennium-long drought, a second culture emerged in Gobero called the Tenarians around 6,500 years ago. Unlike the Kiphian, who were primarily fishermen, the Tenarians were skilled craftsmen and cattle herders. They created jewelry from ostrich, eggshells, and ivory, and used bone needles for sewing. It was during this period that what scholars call the cattle cult of the Sahara emerged. Cattle were considered symbols of status and power, even ritually buried in elaborate megalithic structures. The ritual slaughter of these prized livestock demonstrated a strong group identity in the face of environmental challenges. Interestingly, this tradition of cow worship and pastoral lifestyle would later become the foundation of a culture that spread throughout sub-Saharan Africa and even influenced spirituality in the Nile Valley. The skill of ancient Saharan people in managing water resources, from fishing to building deep wells, proves that they were not simply victims of the climate, but rather intelligent agents of change. They built complex societies on the shores of a giant lake, long before the world's other great civilizations emerged from the darkness of history. The heyday of the Green Sahara was short-lived, as around 5,300 to 3,500 BC, the region began to experience a catastrophic collapse of its ecosystem. The wet African period ended, when the monsoon rains that had watered the region for thousands of years began to retreat southward. This phenomenon was triggered again by changes in Earth's orbital precession, which gradually shifted the northern hemisphere away from the sun during the summer, drastically weakening the monsoon's strength. This change created what scientists call a climate crisis that transformed the lush savanna landscape into the most devastating desert on Earth. For the people living there, this climate change is an existential threat, forcing them to make a difficult choice: survive or migrate. Their first strategy is to move to refugia, or ecological pockets where water still remains, such as the Gilf Kebir Plateau or oasis depressions like Farafra and Dakhla. In these places, pastoral communities try to survive longer by digging deep wells to find the dwindling underground water. However, over time, even these oases become too dry to support large populations. A mass exodus is inevitable. Thousands of people, along with their livestock, began moving from the heart of the Sahara toward the only remaining source of water in the east, the Nile River Valley. Previously considered too swampy and inhospitable for permanent settlement, as the surrounding environment dried up, it became an incredibly attractive oasis for climate refugees. This mass migration was not simply a movement of people, but a transfer of culture, technology, and ideas that would later become the foundation of a great civilization. The Sahara Desert we see today may seem like a dead land, but beneath its thousands of tons of sand, it holds a vast library of history. The legacy of the Green Sahara civilization did not simply disappear. It migrated and evolved to become part of the modern identity of the African continent. One of the most tangible legacies is the tradition of cattle herding. The cult of the cow ritual, which began in the middle of the Sahara 7,000 years ago, still lives on in the cultures of peoples along the upper Nile River and various tribes across sub-Saharan Africa. Livestock are not just commodities, but symbols of status and spirituality, with historical roots that can be traced directly back to the golden age of the Green Sahara.